Hi, welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Eric, joined once again by Karen. We're going to bring you some more Ryan Soap episodes 30, 31. Oh, wait, we're missing 31 and 32 to 38. Tommy can roll the credits and we'll chat. All right, so yeah, we're missing. It felt like we missed a lot in that one too, because like episode 32 picked up and we were like, oh, well, we'll get
Yeah,
into
it
that
felt
in
like it was a completely different week. I was like, what did I
yeah.
miss? But I really feel like all we missed is them just standing around Frank's bed going, is he going to die? Is he alive? Because he,
Right.
'cause he like opened his eyes or what? I don't know.
All right, so episode 30, yeah, right before that, um, that's all the bad news. Frank's took the turn for the worst in the last batch. So everybody's finding out. Bob and Delia are there. He has a Frank flashback. He tells her the news that he's not doing well. Roger and Jill, um, Frank's antibiotics. That's what they're trying to get a new antibiotic for him. He's dying, basically. Um, Something about he made up for the past 28 years, she says.
Oh,
And they
because
talk about Jack.
remember before they said that both Jill and Faith kind of hate Roger,
Right.
and
Oh
Roger
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Jill had that conversation where Jill told him about the affair with Frank, and
Right.
Roger just listened and cared, and the two of them kind of bonded. And I think this is his apologizing for them not being close before, and she's kind of saying, you've been there for me for the last this whole thing, so that's making up
Right.
for it.
So then I
And
guess
he's
they're
like, yep,
28 years
making
old.
up for it. Yeah, well, 28 years apart, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how old anyone is. I know Roger's a lot older, I
Um,
think.
no. Well, we find out Mary is 22 in one of these
Yeah, Roger's
ones.
like in his 30s, I think.
Should be.
Yeah.
Mary and Jack are on. She talks about God and why Frank. Uh, First time she isn't getting in her own way. Pat says call Kathleen and Siobhan. Um, So I guess they might. I don't know if they do that because I don't know if one of them come back soon or both. I don't know what's happening. And they talk about a story that their mama told them. Bob and Delia get there, and she can't go in yet because she's she's like
She well,
I she's so sketchy. She's like I'm afraid of everything.
she is. She's
She's afraid of
freaked
him
out
being
about
awake.
everything that's
Yeah,
going on. She's afraid of him being awake. I think there's something. I know she knows about the affair with Jill, but I feel like maybe she knows something about how he ended up getting pushed down the stairs.
right. She
And
knows stuff.
I think he knows something because she's so afraid of him. He must know something. So,
Somebody's
like,
got to be on to her. She's so sketchy. It's crazy, and she
no,
wasn't as sketchy in the
they
flashbacks.
just think she's stupid. The way they react to her all the time is as if she's an 8-year-old child who's afraid of the dark.
Yeah, which is weird because in the flashback she doesn't come across as the way she's acting now.
No, she seems pretty
Um,
normal, just like a young kid who wants to get married.
Roger and Jill get there. Delia, I put Delia weird. She says
Yeah.
Jill is nice and cares about Frank. Mary pleads for him to wake up, and Maeve sings, as always, that you love.
Oh yeah, I wrote shut up, shut up, shut up, please
And
in
then
my
we
notes.
have like this a flashback of Frank falling again, Delia's wedding. Um, and I put Mom, Jill, Bob, and Johnny. That's all I got. So
I
everybody was in there.
Yeah, I felt like Dee really like became depersonalized in that moment. Like she was completely like freaking out. Like she was just not she was standing in the background, like they're all like so worried about Frank, and she's just like zoomed out of all of reality. And the whole issue with Frank
Yeah,
is that they needed they needed a specific antibiotic before they were using like a broad spectrum. So they ran a culture and they were growing the culture to figure out what kind of antibiotic they needed. And that's what Jill and
right.
Roger were talking about. And Roger was just like, listen, I don't think he has enough time for us to figure it out. So we figured out the antibiotic, but it might be too late for it to do any good.
Right.
So that's what they're worried about right now. But it wasn't not much going on. A lot of flashbacks to stuff I didn't care about. Like,
Yeah.
like
So it was yeah, so everything was grim in this episode. So episode
yes, very
31 we're
grim.
missing.
Yeah.
And then in episode 32, we have Jack and Mary at this men's club. And
Yes.
like and I'm like,
Yes. Yes. What the?
okay.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
put guess Frank is okay.
I guess they took a break or
they're
whatever.
gonna meet somebody there. They talk about it.
Oh yeah, they're gonna meet basically his family because he's adopted. So it's this guy. What did he call him? I wrote his name
Jumbo.
down. Jumbo.
Jumbo.
He's the brother of the priest that helped find him the home with the Italian family.
Right.
So he used to be
and
a big criminal, and he runs this club now, and it's a men's only club. So the men in the club keep looking at Mary Ryan like, "What is this? Why is there a woman here?"
He seems like a fun guy. But they like they play pinball and stuff, and they're just having a good time.
He was cute.
And you know they would not be doing that if Frank took a turn for the worse. So I don't know what happened in those 20 minutes.
I'm assuming that the antibiotics started to work, so he started to stabilize, and then people,
I'm guessing.
And then probably Ed Coleridge was like, "Get the hell out of my hospital! There's too many Ryans hanging around this person who needs rest." And then they sang a song. No, that was Neil over at Swan's Crossing.
So Dr. Ed Coleridge and Nell. He thinks he missed something about Frank. They're waiting for antibiotics to work.
Yep.
They talk about getting food, and he's like, "Call me Ed," because she keeps calling him Dr. Coleridge. So you're like, okay, they're getting in a little tight. Yeah, this is the stuff I thought you would like. I'm like,
because they flip back and forth between flirting and hating each other, and I think they're really cute together.
And they go to his place to get to know each other. Mm-hmm. And then I guess, as somebody says, I guess like Mary must be to meet this dude Jumbo, because Jack never introduced another girl, and we find out that Mary is 22 years old.
Right.
That's all I got for that episode.
Yeah. Oh well, they talk. The one thing I do want to mention is that when Nell and Ed are having their like little non-date date, and they're drinking brandy, like I think they talk about how Seneca is like somebody that just sucks everybody in around them. So they're giving us a little bit more information about Seneca and his kind of weird charisma he seems to have. And you know that Seneca's coming because they haven't stopped talking about him and he hasn't stopped calling. But Ed is just like talking about Seneca and he's heaping praise on Seneca. And Nell's like, yeah, he does that to people. He just sucks them all in and they do whatever he wants them to do. And it's like, I need to know more about their relationship. Like, is he just like neglectful by way of he just wants her in the house, or is he more abusive than that? Is he more controlling?
We're gonna find out soon.
I would like to know. But yeah, there wasn't much to that episode at all.
We'll find out in about 2 years. Episode 33. Nell and Ed, they had a good night. They have like, what do they call it when someone comes in for the late night drink?
Nightcap.
Nightcap. They had a nightcap, brandy, and a smooch.
Yeah, he kind of just went for it.
Yeah, why not?
He did.
They were
he
both
went for it.
Each other. It was cute.
Mm-hmm.
Delia slept at the hospital. She comes on to Pat, says she hasn't been happy in years, and it would have been simple if they had just gotten married.
Yeah, that was like a big shocker. Like, what? When did they even have a relationship? What is this? So this is like all new information.
No, they talked about it. They talked about it, but I didn't know it was near marriage.
No,
they had mentioned it before. We knew that they had a past.
We knew that Delia was in love with Pat previously. I didn't really know what Pat's involvement was one way or the other.
I figured they had dated a little bit before she got with Frank, but I didn't know. I guess she wanted to get married and he didn't at the time because Pat was probably, what, 16?
Yeah, because she was probably the same age. Like she was little. Like they were young and Frank was older. So
And I
He
guess
just
she
wanted.
just wanted to like marry somebody.
Well,
That's what
sometimes
it seemed.
I think back then it just would have been like, what else was she gonna do? She wanted to get
Right.
married and
Turn
have
18, get
babies and
married.
live happily ever after. Like she was just a kid.
Yeah. Bucky finds Faith with an orange. He comes on strong, as
Yeah,
always,
yeah, too strong.
and he
But
realized,
he is
and he,
cute
and
in that
that's
scene.
he realizes he is crowding her, so he backs off a little bit in the scene. Um, Nell and Ed plan on dating.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, and
yeah,
she's just like, we got to take this slow because I don't know anything about what I like or anything about what I want to do, and I don't want to push
right.
too
And she was
hard or
with
too
Seneca for
fast.
so long, and he's
Hmm.
controlling and all that.
Yeah, and Ed's just like, I really would love to be a part of that. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Like Ed is a real old school gentleman. I really appreciated him compared to the situation with Bucky.
right. Delia has a flashback of her and Pat. Frank proposed, and Pat was surprised because I guess she was dating Pat and was just like, well, I don't know how this situation came about, but because how do you date two brothers and then one proposes and
I
do they
don't.
not know each other was
Maybe
dating?
she broke up with Pat when she was talking about getting married, and he said no, and then she immediately
Right,
went to Frank. Because it's like you said, it doesn't make sense that she would be dating both brothers at the same time. That would be really
right.
unusual.
And they
I mean,
both
it could
lived there, so
happen,
that would be
but
weird.
it seems really
Right.
unusual.
We find out that Frank has a real chance, and Delia's like, oh God.
Oh God, no! My husband might
Frank,
live. This is bad.
Pat, Pat says that Frank turned a corner.
Yeah.
That's all I got for that one.
Mostly, I just think like the whole situation with Bucky. Like Bucky was literally hunting the hospital to find Faith. And he
Of
is
course.
really cute about it because he's like, I brought you an orange, but then I got hungry because I couldn't find you. So I ate half the orange. And then he's like, I have other fruit. And I mean, he's like, what is going on, Bucky? Just stop. You're being too much. I think he saw Faith, decided he was in love with Faith and that they had to be together forever and never accounted for any
Right.
of Faith's feelings whatsoever. And now she gives off mixed signals because he's moving too fast and she likes him, but she doesn't want all of what he's offering yet.
He's moving way too fast.
He's pushing.
Like,
If it was up to him, they'd be married on date 2. He's insane.
right, yeah. Episode 34. Pat calls Johnny. Frank is better. His fever's better. His breathing's better. Everything's better.
Yep.
Um, Bob and the Ryans celebrate with breakfast or brunch.
And
Um,
it's like a full breakfast. It's like everything you could think of. And the first thing I thought was
mhm.
Delia wasn't invited to this breakfast.
Well, she was upstairs sleeping, and they tried to wake her. They said too. So Bob
Sure.
tried to wake her.
Sure they did.
That's just
Ryans.
fueling your hatred. She was exhausted because she's worried about what Frank's going to say.
She's worried about her husband. Now
Um,
that he might live, he's a problem.
Faith comes by and throws flowers on the table, which I
That
thought
was
was pretty
funny.
funny.
Yeah. It was cute.
Pat seems Pat seems kind of smitten with Faith.
I feel
Um,
like there's a situation like because remember how he was describing her in the beginning where he was like, she's a
yeah,
cold fish, she's this, she's that. I think he probably made his move and couldn't get anywhere with it and then was trying to
right.
like discourage Bucky because he was like, oh, she's never gonna care.
And
And
we
maybe
know
she
why,
won't.
because she's kind of weird. So he's probably like her normal weird self with him. He's like, ah, that girl's weird. I can't mess with that. And he was probably trying to warn Bucky about
Or
that,
maybe
which
when
makes
she
sense.
said no, Pat went okay instead of let's get married tomorrow, which is what
Yeah,
Bucky's
right.
approach has been. Like Pat was like, listen, I'm a whore, but I'm a respectful whore. Have a nice day, Faith. Moved on.
Right. The Faith has to hang with Bucky. And she can't go with them to see Frank because that's what I guess Pat wanted her to.
Hmm.
Because they had bonded in like the last batch of episodes, I think, when he was kind of vulnerable with her.
Yep.
Um, Clem tells Bucky that he has to work, but Bucky's upset because he made that date with Faith and now he can't go. And then Clem ends up like, he's like, all right, fine, whatever, you can be free.
Yeah, well,
Um,
he threw like a fit. He's like, "Come on, man, I have this date. It's the girl of my dreams, blah blah blah." And Clem is
he
just
did.
like, Whatever. I'll find somebody else." He just didn't want to do.
I'd be like, dude, you have this date every night. Like, stop.
I would be like, "Oh, is it Faith again? Are you still stalking her? That's probably going to end
Yeah,
up in
right.
you in HR, sir. You should probably leave her alone."
Give it up, man.
I do like Clem. I wish
Um,
more. He needs a storyline. I like him and Ramona, and they're just in the
I guess
background.
one. Mary gets to Jax. He is happy for her since Frank is doing better. They kiss, and he says basically like he won't be waiting that long for sex.
Gross.
It's already been a week.
Yeah, he's waited 3 whole minutes, and her brother's been in the
Oh,
hospital on his deathbed the entire time. She's definitely thinking about sex.
I know, right?
Like these, yeah. Sometimes these men on these shows, like they can't think for 1 second
Yeah,
outside themselves. It drives me crazy.
I know. You have anything else for that episode? I'm done with that one.
Um, Only that the story that Faith and Maeve were telling about how Faith spent most of her childhood at the Ryan's house and all of that was just really annoying. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just like the more they make these people out to be saints, the more I want to hate them. It's just crazy. But no, I didn't like that. It was like a weird moment where they sometimes the show does that thing where they're like, and now an entire speech that's just exposition about a character's life. They kind of do it with Finale at one point. They're like, he just sits down and like when they were at the fountain, remember in the other episode where they were at the
Yeah,
fountain and he literally word vomited his entire backstory. And it's like normally
right.
this stuff is kind of dropped in piece by piece, but Ryan's Hope is like, no, cut to the chase. Tell your 10-minute story about how you're a sad orphan adopted by Italian bakers and let's go.
Right.
And I feel like this was one for Faith where they were just kind of like, okay, now here's Faith's info dump um,
Yeah.
with Maeve, and then we'll make Maeve look good again, which to be honest, she really doesn't look good. She just looks annoying to me. But yeah, that's what I got for that one. Other than I really wish Clem had a storyline because I like him.
Yeah, maybe one day.
I hate when the background characters are more interesting than the front burners for me. It's like, what's this guy doing in the background? I want to know.
Episode 35. Delia is upset she missed breakfast, but they
Hmm.
did say that they tried to wake her.
Sure, they did.
Ramona calls, Frank is waking. Seneca calls Marshall, but he's back. Nell and Ed have lunch in his office. I wasn't sure where they were.
They
Were
were
they
in
in
his
his office
office.
or her office? Was it his
In
office?
his.
All right. Um, she is happy. Ed senses she is holding something back,
Hmm.
which is the tumor that we think she has, TV disease.
Yeah, she's got TV disease for sure. She
But
has
she
to.
ain't telling
Why would she
anybody.
change her
She ain't telling
entire life?
anybody. You would think she would have told Bucky, like, we don't know what she has going on, but like you would
Maybe
think we know by now.
really thinks because you know how women get treated sometimes in these shows is like they get really
Yeah.
infantilized. So I think if she admits any kind of flaw or weakness, she thinks that they'll take her work away from her.
Yeah,
And they'll be
that's
like,
true,
you
yeah.
need to concentrate on getting better and being a safe little woman at home. And she's like, I have science to do and I can't be dealing with this.
I
Sure, I
gotta do
have
science things.
TV disease, but I got a science.
And Faith walks in on them, and she's not pleased because they got off to a bad start. Marshall and Seneca, they talk about now he wants a job at Riverside.
Hmm.
Bucky and Faith, but he doesn't want to push anybody out, he says. Bucky and Faith are on their houseboat or on his houseboat, and he comes on strong again.
Yeah, gross. Gross.
Yeah, he just
In
don't
this
stop.
Yeah, in this episode, I like to comment on the fact that Ramona was trying the scream at Frank until he wakes up cure again. I don't understand why they keep shaking the person in the bed and yelling in their face to try and wake them up. And then when other people show up, Ramona's like, you need to talk to them. And then they start talking. She's like, louder. I'm like, please stop screaming at the sick man. Like, it's
It's
crazy.
it's 1975. Maybe that's how it was. I don't know.
I don't know.
But like now we don't scream in people's faces.
No,
Um,
no.
I put Faith still doesn't know what she wants.
Right.
Bucky kisses her hand. She kind of likes it, and she's like, "You're nice, Bucky." And he's like, "I fell in love with you." And he kisses her, and she acts weird.
Well, because she's proven in several scenes that she's uncomfortable with him complimenting her in ways that are kind of like excessive. Like he's like, "You're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're lovable, I love you," blah blah blah. It's too much too soon, and she's uncomfortable with it, but she also likes Bucky. So she's in this weird spot where she keeps giving into him a little bit because she's afraid if she doesn't, he'll leave. And then he
Right.
pushes it way too hard, and it gets kind of rape culture-y vibes in a really hardcore way. And it's like I don't think he thinks he's doing anything wrong, which is
Right.
kind of sketch, like in a major way. But like I don't. And Faith is
Yeah.
acting weird, and Faith is telling him like, "Can we not just be friends?" Like she just keeps saying, she's like, "Do we have to push it further?" And we start getting little pieces. Is it? I don't know if it's this one or the next one, but we start getting the background story
It's
on
the
why
next one.
Faith. Yeah, and the Faith is acting this way, but like he is just pushing too hard.
Yeah. Um, Everyone is trying to wake Frank. Maeve
Ugh.
sings, which you love.
Hmm.
Johnny joins. He wakes, tries to speak. Delia is scared. That's all I got for that.
Yeah, Delia looked terrified when he opened his eyes, and I was like, "Girl pushed him down the stairs." There, like, how does
I know
she
it's she's
had
acting
to?
way too sketch. She's acting
Yeah,
way too sketch. And if I
she.
were her, I would just be like, I'm staying home with the baby because that's what Frank would want. I would just
But
stay home and not
I
be
did feel
involved.
bad for her because she wanted those couple minutes. Was it in this one or last one? She wanted to talk to Frank
No,
by
it's the last.
herself. Yeah. Sorry, they
Yeah,
all run together to me because they're so fast. But
yeah,
like,
yeah. They really are.
yeah, okay. Well, then let's go on to the next one because there's not much that happened in that except Bucky was pushing too hard and Frank opened his eyes and everyone was yelling
Yeah,
at him.
right. And it's episode 36. Bucky and Faith. She's panicking basically.
Hmm.
She's like, "Don't." Um,
He
After like you said, she gives and takes. Like you don't know what's
But
gonna
he
happen.
wants her to sit down with him, and then he tries to get them in a position where they're basically spooning on the couch, which she's not comfortable with. And she
Right.
literally jumps out
She
of it
looks
and says,
uncomfortable.
"Yeah," she's like, "Bucky, stop. Bucky, please don't do that." And like he's just like, "Oh, what's the problem? Just try and get comfortable. Try and get comfortable." And it's like, let her go. Like back
Yeah.
off. It was so uncomfortable to watch, I have to tell you.
Yeah. Nell goes and sees apartments. She sees a nice blue apartment.
I loved it.
It's
It
the
was so
whole.
blue.
I would have loved it too because I love blue.
Yeah, blue is great.
Um, Seneca tries to get a job on the DL. He's got terms, of course.
Right.
Um, wishes she could fall for Bucky, but keeps panicking. She says sorry that she likes him. She wanted to have sex, but just can't.
Which
And I put asexual, gay. What's
yeah,
going on with her?
I think I wrote, let's say, there was my two theories are that she was SA'd or she is giving off super ace vibes. I don't even know if I would consider her to be like maybe she's gay because we haven't seen her interact with women that she's not
Right,
related to yet.
right,
So we don't really have that option. But she gives up like I thought she was maybe assaulted and that's why she's so scared of men getting close to her. But the story
yeah,
she tells seems to be like she just had the same situation with Bucky where she thought she was going to have a platonic relationship and then they accelerated it to sex and it didn't work out for her so now she doesn't want to do that again. So
right.
it really makes her seem like she's asexual.
It does. It's bizarre. But Bucky isn't helping anything, of course.
No, because he
Um,
doesn't give her time to think or figure anything out. He just
Seriously,
keeps pushing for what he wants to do and it makes me kind of hate him.
they never do give
No.
time. Seneca tells all his credentials to Marshall. Something about like head of neurology, but there's already one. Who's the head of neurology? Is that
Ed
Coleridge?
Coleridge.
Ed, okay. And he says, no, I don't want to push anybody out.
Mhm.
Nell takes the apartment. Here's the faith story that we're talking about. It tells the story of a man 2 years ago. wanted to be lovers. She didn't like it and dumped him.
Yeah, she said the guy lured her in, not that she said lured, but he did by
We're
saying,
guessing.
yeah, because he was older. So he would like he might have had, I don't know. He may have just thought like Bucky that you're just gonna fall in love with him. But he told her that they would have the perfect platonic relationship
Right.
until he decided that he needed to have sex. And then he had sex with her and it was not fun for her. And now she doesn't want to have sex because it didn't work out.
Right.
So
Now she's asexual.
either that guy was really bad at sex or really forceful and abusive with sex, or she's a sex repulsed asexual and we should leave her alone and let her do her own thing.
And I don't know why that story made Bucky say that he loves her, but he does. And then
Because
she says, I want to go home now.
what else do you say in that situation? How many times can you say, I just want to be friends and have the person tell you that they love you? Like, I too would have been like, yeah, I got to go. And I'm also never going to speak to you again.
Right.
You're insane. So that was
Right.
really weird on me. Like, that was
Very
weird.
weird.
Yeah.
So, episode 37, we have Delia saying, no, no, like screaming, no, no.
Yeah.
Johnny tells Frank what's going on, trying to keep Frank awake,
Mm-hmm.
because he just woke up and he's trying to go back to sleep.
He needs the rest. Why
Um,
do they keep waking him up? Leave him alone. He's recovering.
yeah, Jack and Mary are on. He asks, who filled her, oh, he asks who filled her in on his past loves, because I guess she found some stuff out about him.
Oh, yeah.
Um, he says he isn't serious about those girls, and they kiss. He finally gets her in her bed, in his bed, which was the funniest thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, everything's here. This is it. I can reach this. This is my phone. This is
It was it was such a funny thing because he was like, from my bed, I can write my articles. I can eat snacks that I've hidden here. I've got bottles of water. I'm ready to live in this very comfortable bed. And I was like, this man has it going on. He's like, I've got my setup here. I live, I bed rot. Like he's just
right.
he made me laugh. Like he is funny, even though I feel that he's a
Yeah.
little too pushy too. I guess men are
Aren't they
just
all?
pushy in the Ryan's Hope universe.
And then Mary ends up running off to Frank's bedside because I guess she finds out they must have got a call or something. Roger fills Frank in on what happened to him. Delia doesn't want to talk to him now before she wanted to.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I suppose she's scared.
Yeah.
Gets close to him and thinks she's gonna faint.
Yeah, she does. She almost faints.
Nick and Herbie talk to Roger. Dude broke his foot with the bowling ball.
That was funny.
Roger
That whole
films.
conversation where he was like, wow, it's a real shame when that happens to a person.
Yeah,
I was like, this is great.
should have paid your debt, Roger.
Don't owe money to the mob, kids.
Roger fills him in on Frank's condition. Ramona takes Nick's cigar away. I don't know why I made that note, but I thought it was funny, I guess.
Because I think Nick was
Um,
like, can I smoke here? And Roger's like, no, you're in a hospital. And he's like, I don't think they'll tell me no. So he started smoking and Ramona took it.
yeah. Wants Frank as mayor because he's shady,
hmm
apparently. Delia asks if Frank can speak. Mary holds Frank's hand with Ma and Pa. That's all I got for that episode.
So the one thing I want to talk about Nell for a second, because like her storyline is kind of going on. Like at one point, Marshall gets mad at Seneca and tells him nobody can hold up to your standards, which it kind of
Right.
gives you a little insight into how maybe he behaves towards Nell. And also, Nell does apologize to Faith and try to make up to her for the dim bulb comment. She calls herself a dim bulb in response. And she goes, I was a real dim bulb for believing that Ed was less than what he seems. And she said, and I can't apologize enough for the bad first impression. And Faith
Because
just
Nell
isn't.
came in hot. She came in hot.
She did. She came in hot, and Faith was not ready to hear that because Faith had just had that entirely upsetting experience on the boat, and she wanted to talk to her daddy about
Right.
what the hell was going on, and she needed her father, and he didn't know because she's not telling him because she communicates as well as any of these people on these soaps do.
Well,
And
he doesn't really seem to be there for his children, as we see in the next episode,
right, he doesn't. No, you're
which
right.
is kind of shitty. He's like
But
pissing them off.
I think he's very self-involved. I think like he's a neurologist. He's like hot shit at the hospital. And I think sometimes he thinks they're too grown and they don't need him anymore. And Faith is literally
Right.
standing there saying, "I need you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "But I got a date."
Sorry, girl. Go to
Sorry,
your
girl.
sister.
Why don't you talk to Jill about woman things? I don't know any
That's what
woman stuff.
he's brutal.
I know. It is funny though, because he is so clueless that he's doing that. It's very funny.
Well, some parents are like that. I've
Mhm.
done things. I said that to my parents before, and I've got blown off. So
Oh, I think we all have. We've all had that moment where you're having like a serious emotional moment.
right.
Aaron is just like, "So did you want to order pizza or?" And you're like, "I'm dying right now.
I need an ear.
Can you listen to me?" And they're like, "No, your emotions make me uncomfortable."
Please don't speak of your emotions.
I can't. I can't.
Episode 38. Bucky and Nell catch up. Delia wants to be alone with Frank. This is where she wants to be alone with Frank, but nobody
Mhm.
will leave her alone.
I hated that. That was so
Bucky
rude.
Bucky wants Nell's advice about Faith.
Mhm.
Nell says, "Don't press. Let her take the lead." Good advice.
What have we been saying? Back off, Bucky.
Seriously. Faith and Ed talk. He tries to push her onto Jill. Bob and Mary talk. He's all happy. Delia, I'm telling you, because Bob and Frank had an affair,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
It makes sense.
Um, Delia tells Delia tells Frank she is frantic and sorry. Frank smiles when Bob comes in. He
Yeah, he
wasn't
does.
smiling with
I
Delia.
know. And the way Bob had
He's
that
like,
flash.
Bob, I love her.
Yeah, because remember he had that flashback where the two of them were singing at the office headquarters. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what two heterosexual men sit in a room and decide to sing like a crazy and have a very romantic moment?
Yeah.
It did seem
Um,
like his flashback was very much like this is how our romance began.
right. Ed comes in. Delia tries to stay. She is mad Bob busted in because she's trying to have her moment with Frank.
Yeah, but Mary Ryan said it would be fine, so Bob didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
True.
And so she got mad because she's like, "Why couldn't you just let me have a
Faith
minute?"
didn't know about her dad.
Hmm.
Nell says she misjudged Ed. He gets
Yeah.
back. Faith leaves. Ed is clueless.
Hmm.
Nell
Absolutely.
knows. And I put no, Nell knows she's got problems now.
Hmm. Because she was kind of like, "Don't you need to, handle your shit?" And Ed's just like, "Nah, let's go to lunch." So what do you think? Where is this going? What's going on? What do you think's happening? What predict something?
I mean, obviously, I know Nell and Ed are obviously going to get closer, and then Seneca's going to come back, and it's going to
Hmm.
be a shit show, which I'm
Hmm.
excited about because I love a shit show.
Me too. And also,
Um,
I think Seneca's got a very powerful personality, and I want to see that in action.
that's why I'm glad Frank's up. I'm hoping he gets out soon because I feel like once he's out, like shit's going to down between with Nick and his shady shit.
Hmm.
We're going to find out. I feel like more of the shit. Like I feel like everybody's going to confront him and be like, "What's going on?" Um, only his parents probably won't know. I'm assuming
Right. Yeah.
how shady he got.
And I don't think
Um,
Mary Ryan will find out for a long time that her brother is shady. She has way too much faith in him, and she just kind of ignores everything that's happening.
yeah, well, I guess I'm thinking maybe Jack will be a part of that.
I know, and I think it'll
Um,
damage their relationship.
like, I'm wondering if Jack will find out and have to tell her something. Like
I
maybe
think
that would be.
that would be cool. I would like that.
I think I'm thinking something like that might happen. I don't know where it's going with like Pat and Delia and Frank. Um, I really don't know. Um, who else is there?
Do you think we're supposed
Faith.
to root for Bucky and Faith? Because it feels very much. I'm
I don't think
confused
so. I
because I'm
I
not.
never I never I never think on rooting for people. Like I never like I mean I do like certain couples and stuff, but I don't know. I don't believe like because they experiment with a lot of things
Hmm.
sometimes. So they're like they mix and match people. I almost feel like they got Pat involved with that Faith too, because now him and Faith got a little bit closer. So I feel like they might push that a little bit. So that's why I don't think we're supposed to really root for
I
Bucky
don't
and
think
Faith.
we can though. Like the way it's set up,
No,
I don't think we can root for it.
like
I in the beginning
I'm
I could
almost,
have, but not after that
I
episode.
like, I like seeing the chemistry between all of them because Pat and Faith did have some chemistry in that
Mhm.
scene. So I'm like, okay, so and it seems like because he invited her to go to see Frank with them and all that. So I think something's gonna happen there.
Well,
Um,
I mean, it would serve Frank right because he's already sleeping with Jill. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going to go on with that. And I really need to know more about Roger because he's just kind of on the fringes and we're getting like little pieces of information at a
yeah,
time.
right. I would like a little bit more there too. And Jill,
Hmm.
I like these people and I want them to do things. But now
I,
that I think now Frank being awake will help that move along though, I think.
yeah,
Because
because
he's,
now we've got
it's
to
not
track
revolving
this
around them.
$6,500. We've got to go back to what
Hmm.
happened to that money, which we know Roger took to pay off the bookie, but we're going to find that out
Yeah.
for sure. And then we have to find out why Frank had the money in the first place and whether or not he was pushed down the stairs. And if so, was it Delia that pushed him down the stairs or did
I
they have a
don't think
different
she
issue?
I don't think she did, but she definitely is involved in something shady with about Frank though. She's got to
Hmm.
be to act as she's seedy because in the flashbacks she does seem a little whifty in the flashbacks, but not to this degree. Like to this degree, it's like she knows something's going on with her.
Yeah, because in the flashback, she's eccentric, but she's more calm and like more
Yeah,
collected. And she was actually very sweet when she found out she was engaged and all that. It was very cute.
like
She
she's
just
almost
seemed young.
bipolar.
Yeah,
She's
a little
almost
weird.
bipolar in this because like
I'm
one minute she's seeing Frank, the next minute she's like, I don't want to see him. Like it's just it's like I don't know.
I don't know. I think as long as she thought he was going to die, she felt safe from whatever repercussions of whatever was going on between them. She was like
Right,
scared. I think the entire time she was scared both ways. She was scared he was going to recover and she was scared he wasn't going to recover because if he doesn't recover, she has no husband, she has no income, it's her and a baby and she didn't know what to do. But if he does
right.
recover, then it's like she has to face whatever it is she did to Frank to make him look at her the way he was glaring at her when he woke up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um, yeah. And then, like I said, I want to see the fallout with Seneca. I feel like that's gonna have because you know he wants to come back like on the DL. I feel like he's just gonna and they're just gonna like walk in somebody's office and be like, "Here I am," and like I feel
Yeah,
like it's gonna happen like that, or
I
he'll walk
think,
in Ed's office and see them kiss or something.
but I think he left where he was because he lost control of Nell. So now he's here
Yeah.
to reestablish control over Nell, and he's going to find Nell in her own apartment, like working on getting her own man, doing her own work, and he's going to try and wreck all of that because otherwise he can't control her. And he's going
I
to do
think
it
he
through,
does.
I'm here to help you, but it's not going to be
Right.
help.
I think he cares about Nell the way he knows how to care about Nell. Like I think, like you said, in a controlling way. Like I don't think, yeah.
I think
Because if he
it's
did love her,
also,
he would let her do things
yeah, but it's also a
if she
product of the
wanted to.
times where a lot of guys of the time would think that like it's my wife, so she's my person that I basically have, and she does what I want her to do.
Also, does he not know about her TV disease?
No,
I'm
I
guessing
don't
not.
think anyone knows. I think
She didn't
it
tell
if
anybody.
because this is still we don't know anything yet. We just have that coughing fit and our love of
Yeah.
storyline. But like,
Yeah.
I think if she found out, I think what happened is she had a crisis. She found out she had TV disease and she has X amount of time to live or whatever, and then
Right.
realized she wasted all her time fulfilling Seneca's dreams instead of hers. And then she dipped because she tried to get him to go with her at first so they could be together. But since he was still trying to push her dreams off by 6 months, by a year, by 400 years or whatever, she had to do this. And now he's here to ruin her dreams again by trying to push her back into the little box he keeps her in. Because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
makes him comfortable. He doesn't understand that she's a person in her own right, scientist in her own right. She got a science. I
Yeah.
just, it's such a shame because if they did, because she said when they met, right, like it was a whirlwind relationship and she couldn't be separated from him and she was so super in love with him. For it to end up this way is like, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see more.
Me too.
Um, it is good. It is good. It laid the groundwork
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty good. Um,
I think we got a lot coming down the
I'm excited to see
pipeline.
what's
Like
going on.
they're
And
establishing
there is
characters
because
for us.
the I guess what is it? What does Frank want to be? A mayor or a governor? What is it?
The mayor, I
The,
think. It's always mayor.
so that should be happening too. And like, who's his running mate? Like, I wonder if that'll come into play. Like,
We haven't
because that should
seen
be
any of the other people running for mayor yet. We haven't seen
right.
any of the other campaigns, and we've still been stuck with our very insular small cast for now. But like,
Yeah.
I think we're probably going to eventually introduce the other sisters.
Yeah. Well, we found out from our friend Angel that
Yeah,
Lisa Vaughn does come, but I don't know about Kathleen. Um, Probably when they can afford her.
I
When they can
guess
afford to pay
I'm
her.
pretty sure that they're keeping the cast small for that reason. You have
Yeah, yeah.
your
And
10 main players.
it's only a 23-minute show pretty much, so it's hard to
Yeah.
have a huge cast
And
and write for them
sometimes
all.
some episodes they pack so much storyline into 23 minutes it feels like an hour
They do.
show. And other times they pack nothing into the episode and it's like filler, 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 3 lines you
Yeah.
need and then nothing.
What I do like about like it's a slower pace, although I feel like it kind of goes fast, but it also like if we are missing an episode, it doesn't feel like we really are because it with flashbacks and like how slow it's kind of going. Like you said, the only thing we probably miss is everybody by his bedside for 20 minutes and like, oh, I hope Frank wakes up type thing.
Yeah, and
So
probably a
I don't think there's
conversation
anything else
between
major.
Mary Ryan and Jack about meeting up with his family because he said he
Right,
wanted.
right.
So I think that was just the setup for what we saw in the next episode.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. It does make it easier. I do miss that sometimes about the newer soaps where they don't do the full recap. So like usually on Monday, it's
Right.
just tell me what happened last week. Except for like the
Yeah.
early 2000s soaps where they give you a 3-hour recap every beginning of the episode. They're like, here's everything that ever happened in this episode and
Right.
all the other episodes.
Yeah, like especially like now, I feel like if you miss a week, like you'll have no idea what's happening.
Right.
Like you'll be like,
It'll take you some time to pick everything back up because you'll have to wait
right.
for them to hit every one of those storylines.
But yeah, back then I feel like they recapped it pretty well. Like Mondays, they'd be like people would have conversations and be like, "Oh, remember last week when this happened?" and stuff like
I
that. Or
love
they'd
that,
meet
by
up
the
with
way.
people,
I love
like
that
how
because you
Bucky
can,
and Nell, like how
yeah,
Bucky and Nell talk. They're kind of like recapping his storyline and
yeah,
hers.
because the people from different storylines have lunch or they have coffee and then they go, hey, by the way, this is everything you missed because you're not in that storyline. And I'm like, thank you very
Right.
much for the recap. I needed
Well,
that.
also remember back in '75, you couldn't like if you missed the show, you missed the show. What there was
Yep.
beta players. Did they record? I don't even know. I guess beta did
Yeah, they
record.
did. They did.
But still, like, if
Old
you didn't know how
school.
to set the beta recorder, yeah, like you're gonna miss your
And not everybody had those because they weren't
show to have
exactly cheap
it.
when that stuff came
But
out,
thank
you
God
know?
for SoapNet.
Yay.
Thank, thank God for SoapNet for bringing Ryan Soap and all of the soaps to there, because or we wouldn't have it to watch.
I'm glad we do because I'm really enjoying this one. I mean, I tell you all the
Yeah,
time, Edge of Night's probably my favorite old soap that we're watching because it's crazy. And we only did a special on that. We're just watching that one for fun.
Yeah, we need some ones for fun.
Yeah, some for fun. But yeah, I like Ryan's Hope as much as I dislike the Ryans. That's fine. I'm allowed to love to hate a family. I've been hating the
Exactly.
Corinthos family on General Hospital for like all of time. But yeah,
Yeah, right.
I like the other families. I like the Coleridges. I like Fernelli. I like Reed. I think all of the other families are pretty interesting, and I think like they're a good counterbalance to how the Ryans are, because the Ryans are just supposed to be this big wholesome group of family, and I
Yeah.
don't believe in them at all. But the town
Yeah.
does. The town has hope in Ryans.
There is Ryan's Hope.
Oh God.
Well, thanks for joining us today and we'll bring you more Ryan's Hope in the future. And as you can see, we would like some donations if possible, if you're enjoying the podcast. Um, would be nice. If not, that's fine. Just enjoy the podcast
And
because we
comment.
love doing it. And comment. We love
I
comments. We
will
love
answer.
interacting. And so do I. Follow us on all the socials and enjoy your day. Bye, everyone.